Hey, I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex. Last weekend, I had the crazy pleasure of spending the weekend at the Gamers Ranch. What's the Gamers Ranch? It is literal board game heaven. It is located in rural Missouri, and a dude built a giant house to be a mecca for board games. It's got like 10 bedrooms in it. It's got 2,000 board games. It's got a bunch of gaming tables. It's got pinball. It's got Dance Dance Revolution. It's got ping pong. It's got a lake. It's got disc golf. It is, man, it's just an amazingly, insanely cool place. And I recommend checking it out if you ever get the chance. You know, it's a place where like a gamer can do a wedding or something like that. Bachelor party, you know, I'm already thinking like, man, I'm not close to getting married, but if I do, I might have my bachelor party there. The weekend was organized by the publishers Queen Games, Inside Up Games, and Eagle-Gryphon Games. And part of the idea was to bring together a bunch of content creators so that we could play games, make content, hang out, get to know each other better. And the weekend was a huge success in that respect. They brought together a bunch of amazing content creators that I'm sure you already know and love. There was Man vs. Meeple, there was Blue Peg Pink Peg, there was Danny Standring, there was Rolling Dice and Taking Names, there was Tantrum House, there was Our Family Plays Games, there was Little Meeples, there was Board Game Coffee, there was all the Meeples of the Rainbow. I think that I got everybody there because everybody there was so fun and so cool, and we made a lot of content, and you'll be seeing that coming out soon. But one of the things I wanted to do, we got to play any game we wanted. I played games I already know and love, like Dodo's Riding Dinos. I got to play games that I haven't played before, that I also love. The Great Split, man, what a fun game The Great Split is. I'll probably talk more about that at some point. But one of the other reasons that we went is that we got to see some upcoming games from those publishers. And so I wanted to do a video about 5 upcoming games that I think you'll really enjoy because they're really cool. I got a chance to play them. They're great games and I think you'll be interested in them and I think you'll want to check these out. So here are 5 upcoming great games I learned about at the Gamers Ranch. Queen Games is releasing the Stefan Feld City Collection. Many of you might have already heard about this. It's something they've been talking about over the last year or so. And essentially what they're doing is they're re-implementing Stefan Feld games and re-releasing them with new art, new titles, new names of the games. And they're also they have some new mechanisms to them. They're not just straight reprints of old games. They're allowing Stefan Feld to sort of say, hey, was there something that you wish you had done differently in that game? Here's your chance to do it. And so, this month releasing Bruges, the old game Bruges has become Hamburg. The old game Rialto has become New York City. The old game Macau became Amsterdam. So if you're a fan of Stefan Feld sort of Euro games, there's a bunch of them coming out from Queen Games coming up. But the main one I wanted to talk about right now is Marrakesh, because I got a chance to play that at the Gamers Ranch weekend for Atom 2023. That's what they were calling the weekend, Atom. Agora of tabletop minds? Agora for, I don't know. Atom, A-T-O-M, 2023. And so I got a chance to play Marrakesh there. And I wanted to talk about it not only because it was a really great game, but also because Queen Games is doing something that I really like right now. So all of these games are going to have 2 or 3 versions of the games. So Marrakesh has a deluxe edition, a classic edition, and then an essential edition coming out. So the deluxe edition already been released, but the classic is coming out right now and the essential edition is coming up soon. And the reason I wanted to mention that is because they're basically making the same version of the game with different components and different price points and different box sizes. And I think that's a really cool thing because it makes the game more accessible to a lot of people. The deluxe version of the game has everything that you expect. All wooden bits, huge board, insets in the board. So it looks really cool on the table, but it's also decently expensive. I feel like the deluxe version is something like $180, and it also is in a very large box. So it's the type of box that doesn't fit on a shelf very well. You got to put it up on the top of your shelf, and shelf space in my house is very premium. I don't have a lot of place to store games, and so the classic edition of the game is a smaller box but still has a ton of wooden pieces, and then the essential edition of the game is also that sort of smaller standard size box, but it also comes with a lot of cardboard pieces instead of all of the wood pieces. So there's sort of, there's different games, different versions of the same game to meet your needs. Do you want the big deluxe box, which is a huge box with all the premium stuff, or do you want to spend half of that price and get the essential edition and be okay with the cardboard pieces in it for a smaller box and a smaller price point? I think that's really cool that they're releasing multiple versions of the game, and they're going to do that for a lot of the games in the Stefan Feld City Collection. So if you don't want to spend $150, $180, there's going to be versions for like $90 for you, a lot more affordable. Now Marrakesh as a game, super great, fun game. You are dropping these, you're using these keshes is what they call them, to sort of give yourself different actions. You're choosing some of yours each round, dropping them down a tower, and then drafting these pieces, and then those will allow you to get points in various regions of the board and do different actions. So it's one of those ones where it is a Euro game, but it's got some excitement because you're dropping the keshes down the tower, you're drafting, you don't know what's going to happen. So I prefer a Euro game that has a little bit of that excitement factor to it rather than just a completely dry experience. And so Marrakesh does that really well. So if you like that sort of thing, check it out. And, they will be coming, Queen Games will be coming out with more games in the Stefan Feld City Collection here soon. So if you're a fan of Stefan Feld games, I mentioned those other ones that we're releasing this month. Well, in the future, later in 2023, they'll also be releasing Vienna, which is sort of a reimagination of La Isla. They'll be releasing Cuzco, which is a reimagination of Bora Bora. And they'll be releasing Nassau, which is a reimagination of Rum and Pilots. Rum and Pirates. Rum goes a lot better with pirates than it goes with pilots. So pilots, don't be drinking rum on the job. If you're a pirate, drink whatever you want. I don't care. I should also mention that I'm not doing these games in any particular order. These are just 5 games that I liked from Adam 2023. So the next one I want to talk about is Terminus from Inside Up Games. So this is the heaviest game that Inside Up has ever made, has ever released, has ever worked on. It is on Kickstarter literally right now. It came to Kickstarter. It started its campaign a couple of days ago, and it's already going well, so it will fun, but is worth checking out. It is a subway building route game, so think, a train game, but a lot more going on than just your Ticket to Ride style game. Because the interesting thing of the game is that it's really tight. Every person around the table when I was playing was like, if I only had one more of this, if I only had one more of that, I would kill for one more of this. You're just saying that the entire game because the decisions are really tight all of the time of like, I could do this, but that means then I can't do this, or I could do this, but I need one more rail to do all of the things that I want to do. And so it's a tense experience the entire time. It is not a fast game, I'll say that. It's going to play in 3 hours, probably minimum, something like that. Well, I'll say I played a 5-player game, so maybe at a smaller player count it'll play quicker, but it'll never play faster than like 2 hours, I don't think. So it's a longer experience, and it is a experience where you'll be very silent at the table, because I need the whole time of just thinking about how I want to do my turn. You know, I'm not really that focused on what you're doing on your turn, because I am just trying to work out the best way that I can maximize my points and my route on my turn. So if you were a fan of like really tense experiences, Terminus definitely provides that. And it's one where, you know, you feel there's a lot of replayability in the game, right? There's a ton of different ways to score points. There's a ton of different pathways that you can get various upgrades for your own player board, and that's going to change the way you play the game. So I think there's a lot to explore in Terminus, but, you know, it can definitely be punishing, where you're like, man, I messed up that one thing, and now I'm ruined. I can't come back from that one mistake, you know. But great game. Check it out on Kickstarter now. Inside Up Games will also be releasing the game Perch to Kickstarter later this year, most likely July, but we'll see. It's a delightfully cutthroat game, is the way I like to refer to it. It's a modular board, so that's cool. There's some replayability for that. But you will be putting out birds onto a board. But you're not just putting out your own birds. You will be putting out 2 of your own birds every round, but then drawing from the bag and putting out other birds too. All the players will be putting 2 of their birds in the bag each round, and you pull it out. And so this game, when I say it's cutthroat, you can be putting people's birds in places to screw them over, to mess them up, because on each tile, you will either get a special ability or points based on having the majority there. But if you are tied, nobody gets anything. So it's like, oh, you think you're winning that tile? Well, boom, put these other bird color down there, and now you ain't getting anything. So the reason I don't always like mean games, but this one I really liked. And part of it is because everybody's getting screwed over the entire time. It's never personal. I'm never messing with my friend Jonah. I'm just happened to be that was a good play, but we're all screwing each other over all of the time, so you never really get that upset at it. I mean, you might be upset in the moment, like, don't you do that, don't you put that bird there, but then it happens and you move on and you figure out how to gain the advantage back. And so, you know, a lot of the bird games that have been released have been very pleasant games, right? Very, very beautiful, kind of not that much conflict, that sort of stuff. This is a bird game with a lot of conflict. There will be constant conflict throughout the game, but it's really fun to think about how you can gain points in certain places, because you're going to get screwed over in other places, and I just really like all of the interaction, and it plays pretty quickly. You know, you're going to be playing a game in an hour or under for sure. So that's coming to Kickstarter this summer, and I'm really excited about Perch. Inside Up Games will also be releasing the game Draft and Write Records at the end of the year. This had a Kickstarter campaign at in later 2022. I think it was September, October 2022. Campaign's done, but it will have its retail release most likely at the end of 2023. If you are a fan of roll and write games with cascading combo effects, you know, things like Ganshang Clever or Super Mega Lucky Box or games like that, then Draft and Write Records is right up your alley, for sure. There are a lot of different options in the game, but it feels very thematic. You are basically creating a band, and you are taking that band on tour. You are passing cards around the table and drafting cards and then filling in spots on your player sheet to get points and benefits and things like that in different ways. So you can draft band members, you can draft tour route stops. You can draft, upgrades like speakers and money and merch and that sort of stuff. And so one of the fun things too, there's an interesting thing when you are drafting band members, they have colors associated with them. And so when you draft them, you fill in these bubbles on your spot with colored pencils. And then if you can create connections of colors to different band members and lead singers and merch people and that sort of stuff, you get bonuses by creating these color connections. And it's just fun to draw with a colored pencil on your thing. I haven't played that many games where I'm using a colored pencil instead of just, filling it in with a pen or a pencil or something like that. So again, it feels very thematic. It's one of those ones that takes 45 minutes to play, and the cascading combo effects are very satisfying. I love when you're like, ooh, I get this, and then that gets me this, and then that gets me this, and I feel like a king of the world. It's just really satisfying. So if you want a thematic roll and write game without the rolling, replace draft with rolling. And I like drafting, card drafting in games too. I find that always very interesting. You always want multiple things in your hand, so which one are you going to pick? It's a tough decision. And so, check out Draft and Write Records coming out at the end of 2023. The last game I want to talk about is House of Fado from Eagle-Gryphon Games. One of the cool experiences of my weekend at the Gamers Ranch is that Vital Lacerda was there teaching some of his own games. And if you don't know who Vital Lacerda is, he's one of the most well-known board game designers and focuses mostly on heavyweight games. Has some very beloved games like On Mars, Kanban EV, The Gallerist, and many, many more. But they are big experiences. They are 3-4 hour games with a lot of crunchiness and a lot of strategy in them. Well, he was there teaching some of his games, and it was very cool to meet him. Super fun, cool guy. It was nice to have a beer with him and get to know the man behind the games. But one of the cool things, I'm a medium weight gamer. That's where I consider myself. I like games with some strategy, but I also don't have patience to play most games for longer than 2 hours. So I love a good medium weight game. Well, Lacerda is starting to make medium weight versions of some of his most popular games. He started this with Bot Factory, which is now available from Eagle-Gryphon Games. Bot Factory is essentially a medium weight version of the game Kanban EV. It's got a lot of the same mechanisms as Kanban, but a different theme, and plays in an hour instead of 3. House of Fado is also that same thing. It is a medium weight version of his game, The Gallerist. So if you've never played a lot of Lacerda games, and quite frankly, I haven't played a lot of his games because they've always been a little bit too much for me. I'm super excited about these medium weight versions of the games because these are games that are going to have a lot of crunchiness, that have a lot of decisions, that have a lot of strategy, but still can be played in 60 or 90 minutes. And that's my wheelhouse. That's the type of game I want the most. And so House of Fado really does that, and it's worth checking out because of that. This will come out in 2024, so it's not soon, but it isn't too far away. And if you don't know, Fado is the traditional Portuguese music that is played in restaurants, and it's really about longing and passion and things like that. And that theme comes across in the game. You are it's just I'm just excited about the medium weight version of some of the heavy games, and that's why I think you'll be interested in checking it out. Now, I will mention one last game here, and that is Inventions from Lacerda. This is his new heavy game. And I didn't get a chance to play it myself over the weekend at the Gamers Ranch, but I will say that I asked a bunch of people about their favorite game of the weekend, and Inventions got the most votes of any game that I talked to people about. So a lot of people really like this game. It comes to Kickstarter decently soon, so look out for it on Kickstarter. If you're a fan of heavy games, then it is for sure one to check out. So yeah, I hope you get a chance to play all of these games. I think they're worth checking out. They were real fun. I liked all of them. And thank you to the publishers for bringing me out to the Gamers Ranch. The Gamers Ranch is available, I know, for rent. I don't know what the cost of it is and stuff, but you can figure that out if you really wanted to. So, that's what I got for you. I just wanted to talk about some of these games because I'm excited about them. I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex. I appreciate you.